Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Nice. I'm good. I'm really good. Hey, did you get my email about the Dropbox?
The Dropbox. I'm not sure if I did. Oh, you mean an email or in the text messages?
I sent it in an email.
I have
It's,
not checked my 3-1 in the last 2 days, but I'll check it after the meeting though.
sure. I just checking because you were one of the people that I noticed is like kind of a really good planner. And the Dropbox, and like I'm sort of like an aspirational really good planner. Like I have plans to be a good planner. So I created a Dropbox a while ago for all the coaches to share additional materials.
Okay, I
And so,
have a ton.
yeah. And since you have a ton and then you're probably looking for more for upcoming classes, then that might be a good resource for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I will learn how to use Dropbox. This is all
Always something
new
new.
to me, all the internet stuff. So,
Yeah. Um, Tell me, do you have any challenges that you want to talk about?
um, I guess maybe just kind of keeping them engaged a little bit more. Like I try with like we play games every game or every class. At least we try to play a game. We
Hmm.
listen to music but it just seems to, I don't know.
What ages are you talking about?
Um, like 6 and 7.
Okay. Yeah. 6 and 7, I think, is a little bit easier than the really, really young kids. But then at the same time, that you kind of have, they need to have a little bit more responsibility for actually like learning things and
Yeah,
reading things and like doing work.
yeah. I have a 7-year-old, so
Oh,
it
you
can
know all about it.
have an easier time with younger kids because
Hmm.
that's what I have more experience with like the real young ones. So
Yeah.
you can do better.
How many? Yeah. Well, it's no, we all kind of like end up specializing. When I started, all of my students were really young and now they've grown up. And so
Oh,
now I'm really used to like level 3, level 4. And I just got a level 0 kid recently and I totally forgot how to teach that. Like, oops, like what is okay? How do I interact with someone who doesn't know how to form a sentence? Oops, I forgot.
right.
Yeah. So what level are you teaching with these kids? And what units are
But
you
the
working
one level that I guess I'm having a hard time with, she is. Let's see. Hang on 1 second.
Sure, take your time. Just the two of us, apparently. I'm
I
sure
guess
there won't people join later. I hope.
some people are probably just finishing up with class and
Yeah.
have to use the little teacher's room. I'm sure.
Little teachers are.
Yeah, she's a level 2, and no, I'm sorry, level 1, and she just stares.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, and I don't really know what to do. There's a lot going on behind her, and the
Yeah.
other student is very talkative. So I try to have to like slow him down, but again, she just kind of stares. So I don't really know what to do.
When you ask her a direct question, does she answer you?
She does. And if
Yeah.
I ask her to repeat something, she repeats it and really well too. But just like to interact and especially like on her own,
Yeah. So she's
no.
not into that like creative, engaging kind of things
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
no,
Okay,
no.
well, one thing that I've found that helps to pull kids out of their skin a little bit, and it's not all, it won't work with everybody, but I do these role playing. So let me give you an example of one that I did today. And this is just sort of like helps to spark the creativity because all kids know the game of pretending, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, on a level about food, I I explain to them what a waiter is, and
Okay.
then I'll show an example of like a waiter serving a customer, and then I give them the roles like you are the waiter, you are the customer, and then I always use my monkey to model exactly like just in case they can't think of anything, especially in English. They might be able to do it in Chinese, but maybe not in English.
Right.
I'll model a whole play with my monkey just for like 1 or 2 minutes, like, oh, welcome, sir. Thank you. What food do you have? Here is a menu. How much is a hamburger? It's $100. That's too expensive. Okay, I'll give it to you for $10. Okay, I'll have one hamburger. Would you like something to drink? What do you have? I have juice and water. Juice, please. You know, get the idea. So then I try to keep it pretty simple, but then give them some ideas. And then I'll also write it on the screen. And sometimes I use, do you know about the whiteboard share in Zoom?
I've seen it, but I haven't used it. I don't really get a lot of like practice with just like messing around with Zoom to see like what I can and can't do. And I don't obviously want to try it during a class because I don't want to mess something up. Is there a way to practice?
You can practice right now.
Oh,
share your screen. Yeah, you can practice sharing your screen. Like you can open your own Zoom room.
Okay.
I'll show you how to do that in a second and just be in the class by yourself. And you can practice annotation and sharing your screen. Yeah. So when you click share screen, it comes up with all these options. You can share your, you've shared your desktop now, right?
Yeah, this is my desktop.
Yeah, so you can share your desktop, you can show particular applications, which is what you usually should do, like just share your browser.
Oh.
Or you can share something called whiteboard.
Okay.
So try that now. Just go, yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, no, we want the sound. Whiteboard. There. Okay.
Yeah, so this is your whiteboard, just a blank screen, and you can start writing on it. So if you wanted to, like for instance, if I was modeling this conversation with Monkey, you can start drawing on it. You can just take a look at the annotation options there. You can use the pencil, you can draw a square, you can draw circles. Sometimes I use this if I want the kids to be freestyling a little bit in their conversation. I'll let them tell me what to draw. There's one unit where we learn the parts of a tree, and then I draw a tree, but they have to tell me which parts of the tree to draw. I'm like, oh, draw the trunk. Okay, then I draw the trunk, something like that. You can also draw words, and the words is like what is often used in like for games. Like you can play hangman on here, and you can write out little scripts. Like if I like with Monkey, when I was talking to him, what I would then do once I put my puppet down, I had both hands, I would quickly write out some practice scenarios, some sample questions and sample answers in case they get stuck in kind of a free-form conversation, then they can go to what they see on the screen.
So it'd be like, oh, helps by space.
Exactly.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then the other great thing about whiteboard, close it now. Just press stop share. And then share your desktop again. So let's say you were working on the whiteboard a little bit. Now you're going back to the lesson to show them some other things. Okay, so now we're back here. Now you can press, instead of stop share and share again, you can go to the button that says new share and go directly from sharing your desktop or whatever you're sharing to the whiteboard again.
Oh, new share, okay. Oh. Oh, okay.
And then all that stuff is still there for you. One of the things about using annotation like in Zoom while you're working is that you have to erase it when you go to the next thing, otherwise it's going to cover up all your pictures. But when you're working through a whiteboard, it keeps it for you until the end of the class.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
And another thing that I've seen what I've seen other teachers do is they'll make partitions in their whiteboard. If your children are mature enough to have the ability to draw during class and they're not going to draw all over your screen all the day, yeah, then you can partition your whiteboard and say, okay, this is your area for drawing, this is your area for drawing. I want everybody to draw a feeling, and your classmates, you have 1 minute to draw a feeling. Now your classmates are going to guess what feeling that is. Then you can teach them words like, give me a hint, or I don't know, or I think it's this. Is it this? Yes, it is. No, it isn't. So that's like a kind of like very integrational exercise where they can really kind of get their hands in doing something.
That's good. Yeah, I feel like the more interactive they are, you know, the better that you're going to keep their attention, because they're just sitting there and they're just repeating and listening, and like I would get bored with that. So I try to keep it, you know, as fun as possible. And like I even dress up a little bit. I have some like different hats and stuff and like ears when I do the animal lessons and do little plays with little like Peppa Pig stuff, and
Awesome.
so it's really nice having a 7-year-old because I have a plethora of
I
toys
bet.
stuff to use, so I never don't have equipment.
Yeah. When you're doing those kind of things, do you stop sharing your screen?
No, I actually really did. Like I said, I really didn't have a lot of practice, so I really haven't stopped sharing my screen because I don't.
It's nerve-wracking.
Yes, because I don't know really what happens because, like I
Yeah.
said, I don't have a lot of practice, so
Yeah.
I don't want it to mess up my class and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can try it right now. So if you like, whenever I want to do something and I'm using props myself, like in this environment, then
Uh-huh.
I stop screen. Or if a child is sharing something, they want to show like a picture that they drew, then I
Uh-huh.
press stop share, and then everybody becomes big. So do that now. Stop your share.
Okay.
And if you wanted to highlight the child that's showing you something, you can right click on their face.
Right click.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's right click. And then it should show you an option to, oh, you're not the host. I'm not sure if it'll work for you right now. It might be,
Oh.
does it work?
It's telling me chat, pin video, or request camera control.
Okay. Okay. So you can't do it when you're a participant, of course.
Okay.
I should have realized that because I'm the host of this meeting. But as a host, when you're teaching, and you can practice this when you, like I said, you don't have to have students in your class. Or what I've done in the past when I want to practice some different things in Zoom is I have it installed on my Android phone too.
Oh, okay.
So I'll enter I have a separate Zoom ID. So I enter as myself as a teacher, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Let me share my screen. Okay. So here's Zoom. And oh, now it's showing different options because we're not here. Okay. So are you seeing my PowerPoint presentation right now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is your Zoom menu. That's on your computer.
Okay.
Have you seen it before?
I've seen it on other people's, but I haven't seen it myself on my screen.
Okay, so you have installed Zoom on your computer. So however you usually open up your apps, whether it's through the start menu or on your desktop or whatever, that's usually how you can also do Zoom on a Mac or on a Mac. You're Windows, right?
Yeah, Windows.
So on a Windows machine, you can also just press the Windows button and start typing ZOOM, and then it'll show you, like it'll start searching for that app, and then you just press enter. Like usually, I think on my Windows machine, I just press Z, and it's the only thing that starts with Z in the whole machine, and I just press enter, and it opens Zoom for me. So once you open Zoom, this is what you're gonna see. If you haven't signed in, it'll ask you to sign in first, and then this is what you see.
Oh, okay.
This is really. I'm sorry?
I just have it saved in my Google, my Chrome, and so I just click,
Yeah, and that's how we get into our classes too. So I think we used to get into our classes through the Zoom console. So I think the older teachers that are used to that know the Zoom console really well, but the newer teachers that are used to going in through the teaching system haven't had a chance to play with the console. So I actually worked that into our training today, and I'm so glad that that's something that's helpful to you because we can.
Oh yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, good timing. Okay, zooming in and out. How do you Zoom? All right, and this is what I just said. It's installed on your computer. You can access it directly. Getting to know the software will help you troubleshoot technical difficulties during class. Take time to visit all the tabs and menus and take note of how you can access settings. Now, are you seeing a full screen of Zoom right now? Like you can't see any of your other applications?
Yeah, I just see your stuff, and that's it.
Okay, so as a participant right now in our training, you can press escape, and that will exit out of full screen mode. And then you can kind of make Zoom kind of go into the corner, and then you can still be doing stuff on your computer while we talk.
So can you see that I'm doing something else then?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
Which is scary because that means your students can do the same thing.
Right. That's what
So if you see a kid doing this a lot, then you got to be like, hello, stop doing whatever you're doing.
That's really funny that you say that because a kid today was doing that, and I was wondering what he was doing.
Yeah.
I think I know what he was doing.
That's actually one thing I like more about when kids use an iPad or an iPhone instead of a computer, because on a computer you can do so much other stuff at the same time.
Right.
Whereas an iPad is like just one app at a time.
Good to know. And then do I just hit that okay, and come back to it.
Now somewhere open right now because you're using Zoom is this menu. Do you want to take a minute and see if you can find it?
Sure. So how do I share my screen then?
No, you don't have to share your screen. You can just you can just sort of make this Zoom window smaller.
Oh, hit my escape.
Yeah.
And then, okay. See, right now, all I'm seeing is just a white screen that says Zoom on it. And here's what to do with your meetings today.
Okay, why don't you share your screen and we'll look at it together.
Okay. I cannot share screen while other is participating.
My bad.
Oh, that's okay.
That's actually a really good lesson too. If you stop sharing your screen at any time during your lesson, a kid can share their screen.
Oh, and then I won't be able to get it back.
No, and if you can't convince them to stop sharing their screen, or if they don't understand what you're asking for, then you're going to have to really, well, actually, what I would do is just end the lesson and start it over again. But it's really better to kind of avoid that situation.
Good to know. I didn't think about them taking over my screen and stuff.
There's all sorts of things like little pitfalls and like quicksands, traps in these things. Okay, so I can see that so you got basically your browser is your whole screen right now.
Yeah.
Do you see at the bottom, you've got your Chrome circle and then the Zoom circle is next to it?
That's right here?
Yeah. So when you click on that, what does that show you? Does it show you anything?
That's exactly this.
It doesn't show your little thing. It's interesting. So you don't see that triangle, that rectangle?
No, nowhere. And then even if I go, I wonder if I go into my Zoom, like my home, like here's my home.
Okay, so that is the Zoom website, and that's different from the Zoom program.
Oh.
So you're signed in now on the Zoom website, which is another part of this training, is that you can see your recordings of your classes. Have you noticed how you can do that?
No, but now I did.
Yeah. Click on that and I'll show you how to find your recordings. So the recordings are automatically recorded and uploaded to the cloud, and then they are deleted.
Oh.
But still available to you until I think it's about 30 days. Okay. So if you look at where your little picture avatar is, where it says sign in out in the top right hand side of the screen, just below that it says trash 130. So if you don't find the recording you're looking for under recordings, then it'll be in your trash. So just open that up. This is really good, especially if you're like have had a long day and you need to write a report and you have no idea what you did in that class that day. It's like, oh my gosh. And it takes about half an hour to render the video. So you can't do it right away after a class, but if it was like the first class and you're on the last class, you'll find your video here. You can watch it directly in your browser and say, oh, okay, I remember, or I remember. Sometimes you want to make a quotation, especially if you have a behavior problem and you want to say like, this kid said exactly this to me today and that's a problem, then it's kind of good to go and get the evidence directly from the video. Oh, so you would, so you would press recover, which is next to the red delete, and then go back into the recording and find it, because it would.
And then how long is it here for? And
they get deleted as your account gets full. Okay. I think trash deletes itself after every 30 days. I just looked at mine today because I was looking for a specific class that I know I taught in July, and I wanted to use it as an example, but I could only find as far as August.
Oh, okay. Actually, I have a quick question. So with the reports, how long, we have till 12 o'clock Beijing time, right? Or China time?
You have 12 hours.
Oh, 12
no. I think it's trial reports are midnight and regular classes are 12 hours.
Oh, okay, great. So, so for me, like right now it's 12:20 in the morning for me.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, 10:20 in the morning for me.
Good, thank God.
I'm tired, I'm sorry.
Where are you? Okay.
Yeah, so it's 10:20, so it's 10:20 there at nighttime. So I have technically, if I had a trial class today, I have 2 hours to get in.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, and then if I have 4 regular class ones today to do, so I have another 12 hours to get them in.
Do you have 4 regular class reports to write today?
I believe, hang on, I have, what else, students? No, I
Ooh,
have
you have
5.
a lot. Oh, those are trial classes. Okay, yeah, you have
No,
5.
these ones are trials, and then these are
Yeah.
weeklies. I have,
Okay.
yeah, 5 weeklies to do.
Yeah.
So those
Yeah.
are,
So you have 12 hours to do those, but usually the earlier the better, and especially for on your end. When I was doing the earlier morning classes, I'm in a different part of the world now, but when I was in West Coast Canada, um, I would like finish my classes, decompress, have a cup of coffee, and hit my reports, and then it'd be over with. Because like the more hours between doing your class and writing your reports, like the more information leaks out of your system.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
typically what I've been trying to do. As soon as I'm done, like I go to the bathroom, I get a cup of coffee, I take my dog out real quick, and then I come back and do my report. So that way, I'm done. So I'm done for my day, because this is, like I said, the beginning of my day. So I have the whole rest of my day to do whatever I got to do, and get ready for my next classes. And so that's what I found. But that's good to know. I have 12 hours for my normal reports in case anything should come up or happen. I don't have to freak out and worry about it.
All right. Do me a favor and press your Windows key and press Z. Z. Sorry, you're American, right?
Yeah, Z. Yeah.
Okay, so do start Zoom and see what happens. I mean, you're already in it, so I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I want to see if we can bring up. Okay, sign in. Okay, now you have to sign in with the same credentials as you use on the teaching system.
Okay, teaching one. That is.
It should be Tara at 31abc.net. Oh, .com.cn. Ooh, they've changed it.
Oh, have they?
Oh.
Oh.
All right, there you are.
I have a rectangle.
Okay, so this is also when I don't know if you noticed on WeChat the other day, or I think it was yesterday, Sonia wasn't able to access her classes because she couldn't get into the teaching system. She already had preloaded her lesson, I think, but she just couldn't press that blue button to start the class. So if you ever have that problem, then you're going to look for that button on the bottom that says meetings next to the home button.
Okay.
Yeah, and all your meetings are there. This is how we used to start our classes, but it became really difficult because there's so many, especially when you're doing trial classes. It's difficult to determine like which one is next, but they have your meeting ID here, and it's really good if you write down the meeting ID. Can you scroll down? So these are your trial classes probably. And then when you see recurring, those will be your regular classes.
Oh, okay.
So you got your 1800 Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like 2000 TTS Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So you can imagine what kids are in that class, and then write down like, okay, so this is what I have at the beginning of my notebook is a little chart with I've got my Monday, Wednesday, Friday kids and their names and the Zoom ID.
Oh.
So if I'm ever in, and when you look in the when you look in that green box underneath your annotation, it should say the ID of the meeting that you're in. Yeah. So if you write those down and always just have like one piece of paper where all of your classes, you have your ideas. If you ever get into a class and there's nobody there, just quickly double check that you're in the right class. Because sometimes people spend like 5 minutes and then text the office like, I'm like, my students aren't here. And then they're like, you're in the wrong class. And then you just lost like $10 or whatever.
Oh. Yeah, no. Can you say hi? Sorry.
Hi. No problem. Just the two of us.
Somebody is sick this morning.
Oh no, that sucks.
Got a sore throat and some digestive stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not a pleasant morning.
Okay, so I'm glad that we found out how to get into your rectangle.
Yeah.
And instead of showing you on the PowerPoint, I may as well just walk you through it. So go back to home. Okay, so looks a little bit different when you're out of a class and when you're in a class. This is what it looks like when you're in a class. But if you see the little, it says Tara at 31abc, little do not enter sign, and then an arrow pointing down.
Yeah.
Click on that little arrow.
Okay.
That's where you can update Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So if it's ever starting to get glitchy on you, it's always good. And I just do periodically, like once in a while, especially when I pay a lot for my internet over here. Like I pay per megabyte. So whenever I'm with Wi-Fi somewhere, I always am trying to update all my apps. So click on that and then you'll see the option to update, and then it'll tell you whether you are at the latest version or not, or whether you need to update.
Okay, great. Should I do that now or should I wait?
You can do it any time you want, or don't do it now just because it might interrupt our meeting. So then now go to, on the right hand, you see settings. Yeah. So you've got different settings. You've got audio settings, video. So if you get into a class and everybody is super quiet, just click on audio. You can do this during a class too.
Okay.
And you can change the volume of what you hear and what they hear through your microphone. You can turn up the volume of your mic, you can turn up the volume of your headphones, and that's outside of your volume control of your computer.
Oh, okay, great.
Click on video.
I'm sorry, what?
Video. There you are. Now, I think that you probably do have to update. It's hard to tell because I'm really used to the Mac version, so I'm not sure if this is always the Windows version, but this seems like a little bit of an older version. So after this meeting, I recommend that you just double check that you're on the right update.
Okay.
So everything is fine here, but if you ever find something that's really weird with your video, then this would be the place to look.
Okay.
Yeah. Now go to statistics. This is another place where you can sort of monitor if there's something weird happening during your class. The two biggest things that might happen badly and affect the performance of Zoom are overloading your CPU, which I can see that you're not, or having a poor internet connection. So you can see where it says bandwidth, send and receive, and you can click on the tabs that says overview, audio, video, screen sharing. So you can check if the audio is garbled, you can see, and what will happen is when your internet is too slow to handle the sharing, then it'll show something in red. So basically, if everything's in black there, then you know there's no problem on your internet side.
Okay, so what happens if something is in red?
I mean, get a new internet service provider, but at least you know where the problem is.
Okay, so
right?
that's
sometimes it's difficult to know if the student can't hear you, or if they say they can't see the video, but you seem to be able to hear them, or even if you can't hear them and they can't hear you. If it's an internet problem, it's not easy to know if it's on your side or their side.
Right.
Sometimes, so you can do this quickly, but it has to be during the class. So you kind of have them doing an activity where you can quickly focus. They can't see it. If you're sharing your browser, you can be looking through these settings during the lesson and they can't see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you haven't shared Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, and the last one, which is really helpful as you get to know Zoom, is accessibility. This gives you all of your keyboard shortcuts.
Oh, nice.
So things like you can mute everybody in the same class at the same time. If there's an overwhelming noise and you can't figure out where it's coming from, then you can do something for that. And if you just scroll down in that list, there's so many shortcuts. And not all of them are useful for our uses, but I think about half of them are pretty good to use. And what I would suggest as a new teacher is just like reading through them until you find one that applies to you, and write it down and then practice using it during your classes, and then go back and try to find a new one to sort of master.
Okay.
You want to be careful when you're in the settings thing not to change things that you don't know what they're for, because some of them might affect what's going on in the big office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you don't want to change how the recording happens, because they need your recordings and they need it to be going to the right place and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
Go all the way down to the bottom here. Okay. Yeah. So my Zoom has an extra setting that yours doesn't show, which is being able to use Zoom keyboard shortcuts, even when it's not the thing that's in the front, which some teachers seem to be having a problem with that. So I'm going to try and figure that out, and then I'll post something about it, WeChat on you. But yeah, just update your Zoom before, or like at the end of the session. Maybe when you come back here afterwards, you might find that it's like a little tick box at the end.
And what does it do?
It allows you to use your keyboard shortcuts even when Zoom is not the first program, like at the front of your screen. So
Okay.
if you ever can't annotate, like you can't click a button in Zoom because there's another program on top of it, you can still have some sort of control.
Oh, okay.
That's sort of like a troubleshooting emergency situation. Like you see on WeChat, like today my Zoom did 1, 2, and 3, and I couldn't do 1, 2, and 3. So that might be a way to
Okay.
get out of that. But first you have to learn your keyboard shortcuts. All right.
Makes
Okay,
sense.
go ahead and stop share and I'll show you what else we can do in this training. Do you have any questions?
So far, no.
Okay, this is fun. All right, let me just make sure we've talked about everything in here having to do with Zoom. Oh, and I will share my screen again.
I'm kind of glad it's just you and me, so I get more one-on-one training.
Totally. Okay, so you know how to use the website, you know how to update, you know how to find your classes, you got your audio, video, statistics, and keyboard shortcuts. Zoom's done. Okay, so today we're talking about meeting learning objectives. Are you aware of any of the learning objectives in the teaching material?
Yeah, I look at them before I start teaching, so I mean it's
Like
little synapse of what's going on, right?
Like how do you get them?
It's just a little link on the page where it tells me who my student is and.
Okay, like from the teaching system. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got you. All right, so let's go into the teaching system. And let me just open up one of the classes that I taught today. So you got these. This is not like typical learning objectives, but what you're meant to do throughout the unit. So this is what you would maybe go back to when you're on a day that doesn't have enough material and you need to add some additional materials, like I think you're going to be a champ at, or maybe if you're on champion day when you're outside of the learning objectives and sort of curriculum. Champion day is sort of its own little game show thing,
What
which
is
doesn't
champion?
always. You haven't done a champion day. So what levels are you teaching right now?
I have levels 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. I think all of those have champion days. So champion days are days 5 and 10 of, okay, I can understand why you haven't seen it. They're day 5 and 10 of every unit. So let me just get to a champion day.
Maybe I have seen it, I just didn't realize what it was.
You probably done it and you not realized what it's called, because I think there's no big title page that says this is a champion day. Oh yay, Clara's here. Okay, so I'll just bring one up. Hi, Clara.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
No problem. We're having a super small training today.
Oh, I see. Good.
So Tara and I are just talking about Champion Day.
Okay.
Today's topic is about learning objectives, but I suggested that on Champion Day, the material doesn't really follow the learning objectives of the unit. And she asked what's Champion Day, so I'm just bringing one up to show her.
Great.
So this is Champion Day, Tara. It always starts with a find my word where, oh wait, you're not seeing what I'm seeing, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm like, I see PowerPoint.
I see you going like, that's the same thing my students do when they do when they can't see me. Okay, so here's Champion Day. So Champion Day starts, it just says section 1.
I have seen.
Okay, so Champion Day.
Day.
Champion Day is 3 sections. Section 1 is always find my word, which is focused on vocabulary. Section 2 is sometimes focused on the unit material, sometimes not. So this is not. Right. So there's section 2 and section 3 is also not. Section 3 is never on the unit material. So it's more like a game show, and you can pick all of these different things like learning about what things have the same meaning. And if the kid didn't know that shut and closed meant the same thing, then what I would do is write that out here. I also use in this level, because this is level 4, I would also teach them words like synonyms, homonyms, antonyms to sort of like supplement the learning a little bit. And I would take the opportunity to teach them those words. And then things like past tense, verbs, nouns, adjectives, complete sentences, sentence fragments, all of that's tested in Champion Day, but it's not taught in Champion Day. So it's assumed that you will test what the children are able to do, and that when you find that they can't do it, you're going to teach them that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it's cool. So it's kind of what I thought. I didn't know it was called Champion Day, but I was like, well, just observing, I was like, well, I guess this is like a review. So we're having a review today. So I tried to make it as fun as possible, but thank God I had a lot of extra, things to do, besides this, because he went right, because it was in that particular class, I have just one student.
Yeah.
So he went through it like very quickly.
Really
So
quickly, yeah.
I had a whole bunch of extra things in the background so we could fill up the 28 minutes.
You're very lucky if you have a student that where Champion Day is exactly the right challenge level for them. Like they get maybe 80% of the questions right. And then you have a chance to teach them like a little bit. And then by the end of the level that they've learned everything. Usually Champion Day is like too easy or too difficult.
Oh.
So you either like race through it or you only get through 1.5 sections. So, but you just have to like take the temperature of the children and see what's going to work best for them.
Right.
All right. So what I meant to say was that Champion Day, sometimes like if you do like what you said is you finish super early, that's when you can go back to these. Especially one of the reasons that we're talking about learning objectives is because that's partly what your bonus is based on. So when somebody from the staff looks at one of your random classes and notices that you didn't talk about anything in the unit or you didn't do any of these things, maybe on a Champion Day or for whatever reason, then you're gonna get a low mark for reaching your learning objectives. So you always want to keep it in mind in every class, even in a Champion Day, like especially if you have extra time. Bring it back to your learning objectives. However, learning objectives can be changed. So if you find that the material is too easy for the student, then you can add more. I'm just going to go through a couple of these slides and then I'll explain more about that. Claire, do you have anything you want to ask or talk about before we continue?
No, not right now.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
All right. So the first place to look for your learning objectives is in a curriculum spreadsheet, which is, it was probably emailed to you, but I've also posted it to our shared Dropbox. So I've got it shared here. So I'll just show you what it looks like. Curriculum. Here. So it's an Excel spreadsheet that shows you the themes, the vocabulary, the sentence structures, and a couple of other things about every level and every unit. So you can see it's organized by level 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 6 here. And then organized by unit. So at the top here, we've got unit 1 called My Classroom. These are the goals. These are the sentence, like question and answer sequences. This is the grammar that you should be working on. And these are your vocabulary words. And those are the words also in Find My Word. So those are the things that will be tested in the last day of each unit, which is open house. So when you get ready, when you're just about to start a new unit, it's really important to go and look at what your learning objectives are for that unit and always be teaching towards them. Vocabulary and, sorry, go ahead, Tara.
I'm so sorry. I don't forget, what is open house?
Open house is the 12th day of every unit.
Okay.
And let me bring one up for you. So it encompasses the Find My Word exercise, which is on day 2, the question relay exercise, which is on day 7, and the role play exercise, which is on day 9. So it's all of these exercises that the kids have done before, and now it's your job to showcase that they've learned all this stuff.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
On those key days, days 2, 7, and 9, if they're having problems, I mean, the vocabulary, they can pretty much always get it because they've done Find My Word so many times. You don't usually find a kid that didn't get one of those words. But the role play sometimes has some challenging words. And you also want to kind of practice the role play to get them to use good intonation in their sentences, make sure they're going up at the questions and stuff. And the more natural they sound, the better it is. So when you get to your open house, you can kind of imagine, it used to be that the parents were invited and that we would read our reports. We didn't have these monthly reports. Then we would read our reports out loud during open house day. But now it's just those exercises. So you can imagine that if anybody wanted to find out if you're doing your job correctly, they can look at your open house day and see how the kids did.
Gotcha.
Because if they didn't, then you didn't teach them the unit objectives.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. So vocabulary and key sentence structured are listed in the review slides on day 6 and day 11. And don't worry, I'm going to email you this so you don't have to like memorize any of this. So if you are wondering like, what is the vocabulary and how can I find a list of the vocabulary, that's in the materials on day 6 and day 11. Also, the lower right-hand box of each lesson, like I showed you, it says like talk about blah, 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 listen to blah, 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 discuss this. Here's the open house activities. Number 1 priority in teaching every unit is getting them smoothly through their open house activity at the end of the unit. Many of the key sentences in the unit are also built into the song. I find them, like, some teachers have a hard time incorporating the song to the unit, and I think that's because the songs are quite long and they have a lot of words, and they're not super catchy. Like, it's not like you can teach the kid the song the first time and have them sing it by the end of the lesson. So what I do is I download the song, and then when I have some extra time, and if I have the students that are willing to learn a song, then I'll teach it to them bit by bit. And just like today, I have some extra time. Yeah. Go ahead, Tara.
What song are you talking about?
Okay, good.
And I was going to ask you, how do you download it? Because I tried to do that when I started a unit with a kid, and I could not, because usually it's on day 12. So to download it, the schedule doesn't allow you to go all the way to day 12.
Really?
Nope, it goes up to 9, I think. And so I can't download the song, or maybe, I think it's 9 or.
Okay, so I'm in the schedule right now. So I'm like, it'll be different for every class, right? So I'm not sure how many days ahead they allow you to surf. I haven't gone very far. But I'm getting, like, I'm at next week already. Sorry, Tara?
It's like 2 weeks, I've noticed.
About 2 weeks, yeah. So you might not be able to get to day 12. Oh, you should be able to get to day 12, though.
That's the thing. If we need to download that song, the only thing I can think of is go to the prior, another unit that a kid has probably accomplished prior, and so maybe go back to 12 and get that from the history, from the from the history of the students.
Yeah. I'm going to
find another kid who was on that unit and download it from there.
Yeah. So it's like that, those creative problem solving, but we really should be able to have easier
Right,
access.
because if I didn't have a kid from that unit, then I'm stuck, you know.
All right, I'm gonna just send a message to the powers that be and ask them to make sure that we always have access to day 12 before we start our units, because it's important. Yeah. So let me quickly show you how to download. Now, Claire, I'm not sure which levels you're working on, but I've noticed in level 4, I think, they've started putting in the song even on the review day on day 6.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I do have level 4s, and that's why I don't worry so much. But with the level 1, especially 1, you know, that's where you really want to get the song.
It takes a long time to get them in. Yeah. Okay, so I found my day 12 here. So all you have to do is go to the song, and I think you might have to start playing it first, and then right-click. On a Mac, it's 2-finger click, and save video as. So it's gonna let me save it, and you can change the name of it, but I always pretty much keep it because I can look for it easily later when it's L2U8D12, like, easy. I actually have a lot of videos saved because my internet is kind of in and out, and I don't want my internet fluctuations to change, like I'm uploading and downloading at the same time. So I often have my videos pre-downloaded. So now it's going to start downloading it. Oh, my internet's fast today. So it's already finished. And when I have a downloaded video, I don't usually play it in a video player because I like to just share my browser whenever possible. So a lot of browsers will allow you to, depending on what kind of video it is, to open up a new tab when you click and drag it up.
I like learning about jobs.
Now it's playing from my computer instead of from the website. And you can keep that in your unit folder and then call upon it whenever you have some extra time or you feel like the kids want to sing the song that day.
So what did you do? You just dragged it up from...
Yeah, I just grabbed it from here.
Oh,
and
look at that. I didn't know you could do that.
Between 2 tabs. If you drag it directly onto a tab, it will kind of erase whatever you have right there. Like, for example, let's say this is coming next and I drop it here. Now,
I like learning about...
Okay.
Yeah. So you got to get it between the 2 tabs to do that. That's how to use your browser as a video player also.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good.
Tips and tricks.
Yeah.
are they supposed to be learning a song every unit? I feel like
There
I'm
is
missing something.
there is a song every unit, and it's in the open house, and it's sometimes also offered earlier. But what I'm suggesting is that because a lot of the learning objectives, like the sentence structures and the vocabulary, are in the song, you can, if you think it's appropriate for the kids that you're teaching, download it yourself and teach it to themselves outside of the material.
Oh, okay. So are they supposed to be like, are they quizzed on that song in the open house or anything, or is this a song?
No, it is in the open house, so it is meant to be played in the open house. But I just think it's so amazing when they get to the end of the thing and they're actually singing and dancing to the song instead of just.
It's familiar to them. Yeah, it's not something new.
I gotcha. I'm picking it up now. Okay.
Another thing that's great about the songs is that there's automatic like actions and TPR in there. So even if the kid's not really picking up on the words, they can at least do something and show some kind of, like you said, like instead of just orally being in the lesson, like doing something physical can make them engage a little bit more.
Oh, okay, great.
I usually I don't do this with the kids that think it's really lame to learn baby songs. Like my older level 4, like 12-year-olds will never learn the song with me. They'll just like, I don't like it. It's too babyish. Like, meh.
In
But
fact,
with the
I think they play too much because the fact that there's several times that it's boring time.
Yeah, if you have, sometimes you'll find that, especially in level 4, you'll find the song 3 times in a unit. If the kids are not interacting with it, then there's only 2 options. Number 1, make it into an exercise, or number 2, skip it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one way that I make it into an exercise is I make blank, like fill in the blank questions for them. Like, listen to the song very carefully. At the end, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'll read a sentence but leave one word out, and I'm like busy like making notes while the song is going on if I haven't prepared it earlier. And then they can usually remember it. And I think the point about the song is that even if they don't sing it, the point is that they're listening to it and paying attention to what those words are and what they mean and how they fit together in a sentence. And then once especially in a level 4, once I get them doing those fill in the blanks exercises, then I get them to start, and okay, now today we're going to watch a movie. It's going to be a song. And at the end of every song, everybody has to think of 2 questions to ask their classmate. So I don't even have to do that anymore, but they have to ask each other, and they do it like pretty easily.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So I'm advocating the use of more songs whenever reasonable is what I'm doing here, Tara. This is not a necessity. And really everything that I cover in the training is sort of based on my own experience and what I think is going to be the best thing, paired with what kind of reaction parents get and that they give to the homeroom teachers, what the company says, like a lot of the parents are complaining about this. Can you teach the teachers to do more like this? So it's sort of like amalgamation, and it's never going to be perfect. And also some parents want this and some parents want the exact opposite. So really it's up to you to balance the class as best you can with your own teaching style.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any key things that I need to hit on that I maybe missed in training or overlooked, or because there was a lot of information coming in when I started here, so I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly and everyone's happy.
I think that's why we started this training session. So we've got 4 weeks of trial class training and then 4 weeks of regular class training, and so that's like 2 whole months of training, and not everybody can make it to everyone, but there are a lot of materials because you can't learn everything at the beginning when you haven't really tactically understood what the material is like. It's like only going to click once you've done it a few times. So
right,
and you're getting into it, so it's trial. you learn. You're kind of forced to learn something because you haven't done it. But eventually, and once you've, I think, gone through 1 unit with the child, you understand the object of the lessons, how it works. You remember what days are champion days. You remember what days are find my word days, or.
Yeah. And I love clicking through my classes before I start. I'm like, oh, today's a champion day. Like, I know this class is going to exactly need a whole 28 minutes to finish the whole thing. I don't have to arrange any additional material today. Like it's, once you kind of recognize what day is what, then you can really, it really helps you to organize things in your mind.
Right.
And
or you have to find information as to what you're going to do for the next 20 minutes, 10 minutes, because they can finish it like that.
Yeah, exactly. It might be a big alarm bells ringing when it's day 5 and day 10 on champion day. Or day 1 is also very sparse in material and you have to bring in something to add.
Right. I noticed that. There's some, what, 8 tabs or
Yeah.
something like that.
Sometimes even less. But it's nice. It's good to have like a year ago, I remember the teachers were begging for an extra day that didn't have any material so that they could fit their own things into the class so that they can teach what they think the kids should also learn, or the kids not getting it, they need some extra time with a particular thing. Now I think you can kind of like balance, like there's enough space, like, okay, today I'm going to have an extra 10 minutes to fill myself. Today I might have 5 or I might have 0. And if I don't use that, then I'll use it next time. And I think what, like, Clara, you hit it on the head. Like, once you get through your first unit, then you can have a feeling of how it's all organized. And then when you see it all repeat itself in the second unit, you're like, oh, I know how this is. I know what's going to happen next. Okay, so why learning objectives are important. This is self-explanatory for most teachers. Like, well, no, learning objectives are important. But there's some, like, a couple of little tidbits that might be unknown here. So our curriculum is based on National Geographic's curriculum, which is targeted towards the Cambridge Young Learners English tests. So it's not just sort of like a randomized topics of things to talk about. There's actually like, the kids have learned this, check. The kids have learned this, check. The kids have learned this, check. So that's why it's important to make sure that every kid in every unit is finishing the same thing, because they are progressing through a system. And this is exactly what I said, like helps us to keep the standards, and especially when the kids are moving from one class or one coach to another class or another coach, they will have learned the same thing. So you want to make sure that they especially get the vocabulary, which is pretty easy to teach, and sentence structures and grammar. And if there's any verbs in there, you want to make sure they know how to use those verbs. Another important reason is because it's part of the calculation of the bonuses. You want to make sure that whoever's watching your video can notice that you are working through your learning objectives and not just coming up with your own idea or playing games the whole class or showing videos the whole class. At the end of the unit, the open house showcase for parents and the 31abc students to see how well the students have absorbed the material. So you can test how well you've taught your learning objectives by how well they do on the open house. And it makes it easy to know and point to exactly what they've been learning all this time. And sometimes, like, we as teachers, like, think about, like, what have I been teaching them for the last month? Like looking through your notes vigorously, like, did this kid learn anything? Have they progressed at all? But once you, like, go back to your curriculum and then test. It's also one of the things that's missing from our material is review on previous units. So it's important to keep good notes. And then when you have some extra time, go back a unit, go back 2 units, go back 3 units. Like, do you remember what a scientist is? It took me 3 units to get the kids to be able to recall the word scientist in level 3.
And I think that some of the programs are actually bringing some information back. Like I think we were trying to think with one student where in this level, at this unit, and there's a sentence that actually brings up something from the past unit. And I thought, oh, okay, good. I'm glad to see that, because it has them, they know it, but they just need to be reminded. And so they're like, oh.
I've noticed some of the really well-crafted units do that on day 1. They make reference to things that happened in the last unit. But all of the material often was written by different people, so you can even see different styles in different units.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really nice when that happens, because it's
well, it reminds you that you need to keep bringing those past
exactly, and it can spark a conversation like, oh, do you guys remember when we learned that? What did we learn? Like, how does a bicycle work? Or I don't know, whatever. Right. So this slide is talking about, I'm not just going to sit here and read it to you, but I will email it to you. This slide is talking about the fact that sometimes learning objectives don't meet the needs of every student. So if the student finds the material easily, the material easy, then you add your own additional learning objectives to the unit, just in your own notes, in your own teaching, and it's great to include it in reports. So if they already knew all of the vocabulary words in the unit, then you can make a list of the difficult words that are found in the Master of Stories, in the role play, keep it aside somewhere. One thing that I do, let's see, I have this thing that I call difficult words, and yeah, sorry, just so I ask the kids, like, and some children are able to, can everybody see my Word document here?
Yes.
So the kids that I've had the longest, I've trained them to mention when they see a word that they don't know, like raise their hand or circle it on the screen. And then I keep that list, and at the end, and then I use these words to practice throughout the unit, and then also I can come back to them. So if the kids didn't know any of the vocabulary words, you're not going to go looking for additional challenges. But if the kids knew everything and they need more, then I'll have a list of difficult words, or words either that they've pointed out or that I see as I go through, like, I'm pretty sure they don't know what recycle means, or I'm pretty sure they're not going to be able to pronounce this word without me helping them. So I'll make a list of the difficult words, and then I'll refer to it on days where I have extra time, especially like on Champion Day, if there's extra time, days 1, and basically odd days are kind of lower and even days are more full. That's like my rule of thumb. And I have this little game. Do you guys remember this game where it's like you make a rhythm, and then everybody has like an animal sound or something that assigned to them, and then like I'm a lion and I say roar, meow, and you're meow, so you say meow, ruff ruff, and then you're ruff ruff, so you say ruff ruff, roar, and we all sort of say each other's names. So I've replaced those animal sounds with these difficult words, and I'll say, okay, like Declan, public transport and metal waste and recycling center, those are all your words. When you hear that word, it's your turn to talk. And Cece, environmentalist, damage, and reverse are yours. And then the third student will get the next 3 words, and then I'll assign some words to myself, and I'll assign some words to my monkey, and we play this game. So monkey goes first. Monkey, you are environmental protection, and I am midnight zone. Environmental protection, midnight zone, midnight zone. Public transport, the kid who has public transport says, public transport, midnight zone, environmental protection, lecture. So just like kids really like it, like especially speedy kind of fun games like that, especially if their words are a little bit difficult, they want to be challenged. So I call that game confusion. I just made up that game, but I can't remember. But I'm surprised at how just a list of words, and I do this in whiteboard, just looking at a list of words can give them like 10 minutes of like hilarity. Yeah. Okay, so that's one of the things that you can do when the kids find the material too easily is you comb through the material, you look for and highlight the more difficult words, which if you had a kid where the material was too difficult, you wouldn't even mention those difficult words. You wouldn't try to get them to read them or anything like that unless it was in the role play. You can add complementary mini lessons to your lessons, teaching them nouns, verbs, adjectives, English idioms, anything that you think is appropriate to their level, something that will help them to come up with their just general English level.
I try with each unit to have at least 1 idiom or 2. If it's a food, you're talking about foods, then I find a food idiom or 2. And that's what we do throughout the lesson. And then the other lesson, if it's something, whatever it's related to, I get an idiom with that and try to incorporate it throughout the lesson so they can at least know 1 or 2 at the end of the lesson.
I love that idea. And I think that's also a really great thing that you can do. So once you've added idioms or extra lessons or more difficult words or more advanced sentence structures let me show you this example. So in this level 3, unit 4, these are the sentence structures that are given in the level, and the kids in this class mastered it in the first day, and then I had nothing to teach them for the next like 11 days. So I brought in my own question and answer sequences, and so they were able to do these ones. How many senses are there? There are 5 senses. What are they? They remembered what the senses are called. And what part of our body do we use to taste? What part of our body do we use to touch? So I just like brought in my own like additional challenges. And then whenever you do that, I think it's really important to incorporate that into your open house because it just makes it that much more powerful. And I usually in an open house, they have this part of it where it's, see if I can find one. It's the splash page of the unit, this. So this will be the first picture on the first day and the first picture on the last day. So on the last day, when we're sitting here, I have a little conversation with them and I showcase anything additional that I've taught them. So I'll ask like, Apple, what is this unit about? It's about blah, blah. Okay, what is this unit called? It's about blah, blah. Okay, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a blah, blah. Okay, Apple, do you remember what Emily wants to be? I don't know. Well, Vicky, do you remember? She wants to be an actor. So like all those things that you've practiced outside of the material can all be showcased here, and it just makes you look really awesome as a teacher. Yeah, okay. I think that is it. I can't believe we actually got through it with all that extra chatting we did. All right, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about? Any questions?
No, I think that's about it. I got a lot out of today, so thank you.
Good. I'm glad that we got that Zoom stuff sorted out too.
Yeah. Oh, that was very helpful.
Yeah.
And will this be posted on 31ABC?
This PowerPoint presentation?
Uh-huh.
Yes. It'll be sent to WeChat and probably email, and I'm also going to put it in the Dropbox.
Yeah, I can catch the beginning of it. Yeah, because I haven't been able to come in, but I've been going online to hear it. So. Oh,
cool. Okay. Well, just to give you a heads up, the first like 20 minutes of this training was me and Tara kind of like talking. It took a while for us to get to the thing that I planned to do, but fortunately, the thing that we talked about was mostly what was in our materials. So
right.
Yeah, a lot of Zoom questions because I'm still fairly new. I mean, I've only been with the company about a month and a half, so I'm still learning a lot of things, and you know, it's a lot to learn.
I actually think it's going to be useful for any other new teachers that are struggling to get through Zoom because they're going to have the exact same questions that you had.
Absolutely.
And then seeing you navigate to everything that you did today, I think that's going to be helpful for anybody who watches the video.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Thank you, Ken.
Bye.
Bye.